Shane Jones is back, and it's great news for the Labour Party, great news for Maori. The Labour Party need him.
Why do they need Shane Jones?
Well, their Māori MPs are weak.
Parekura and Nanaia
look,
weak.
Parekura's just hanging around for the wages. You see that every week when he's on Te Karere with you. Nanaia doesn't look interested.
Why doesn't Labour replace those two?
I just need to give you a full review here. Lewissa Ward's more interested in marrying her wife than Māori issues. Who's the other one we've got? Oh, the fella from the south.
Rino.
Yeah, lovely man, but, you know, just not doing anything. You know, lovely fella. So they're so weak that they need someone like Jones back in there. Shane's got everything. You know, he's as fluent in English as he is in Māori. You know, it's almost like James Henare revisited. Problem is, Shane hasn't been. There's not. He was talking about all this energy he had. Well, we've yet to see it in Auckland, Shane. And if he starts applying the energy, you got someone who could be one of the great Māori MPs here. No doubt about it.
There's no doubt about that, but he keeps on making mistakes.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be his Te Arawa side or something. I'm not. I don't know what it is. But you know, the porno stuff. I thought he was dead and buried over the porno stuff. The porno scandal. I thought that's the end of Shane. He comes back from the dead. Then this one, he was very lucky to get out of this one. I'm not sure how he got out of it, but he got out of it, and good on him. Good on him, and it's an opportunity, and I'm really hoping, Māoridom is hoping that this guy's going to fire, because the world's his oyster, and Shearer needs him. Shearer's not just weak with his Māori caucus, he's weak with his Pākehā caucus. Shane could have been the first Māori Prime Minister if he hadn't had this tendency to fall over himself all the time.
We've got a couple of big issues to discuss shortly, Willie. That's the RMA and the Resource Management Act, and of course the Maori Party. But
what's happening there?
Well, I'll tell you now. No tēnei wiki, I tīmata i ngā hui a te kāwanatanga, e pāna ki ngā panonitanga ki te ture whakahaere rawa, tai atu ki ngā kaupapa tiaki me te whakarauiri i te wai Māori. I mauake ia Kereama Wright o te Karere, te minita i ngā take taiao a Amy Adams i aia i Rotorua. Nā, ko te pātai tuatahi ki te minita, he aha ona hiahia mo e nei hui.
So really it's about having a chance to have a conversation with wider New Zealand about our thoughts on resource management reform and freshwater reform. And we've been talking a lot for a long time with you know, the Freshwater Iwi Leaders Group and a number of different interest groups in developing these proposals, but this is our chance to take the conversation out to the whole public and hear what their thoughts are, because we are proposing some pretty significant reforms. They're reforms that are designed to make it easier and cheaper for Kiwis to get on with their lives and know what they can and can't do, and they're reforms designed to make sure our water gets on a track to better management for now, for generations to come. It's a long process, but you know, we've got to make a start.
What are some of the biggest changes at this stage?
So the biggest changes at this stage in resource management reform are about making sure we get to decisions cheaper and quicker, so that people can find out what they can and can't do, they know up front, and we don't have this process where people can go on and on and on through the courts if they've got enough money to get the right answer. We've got to have plans that provide for the needs of our community and that do it in a way that everyone's involved in, and it doesn't rely on how much money you've got to get those decisions. And in the water space, the biggest changes are around making sure we have a collaborative approach so that communities can choose what they want for their water based on information we give them from the centre with the best science, the best information, you know, based on what we've got to start getting some good long-term management of our water.
What will the role of iwi
Yeah, so I think iwi's got a big role in these reforms, particularly around freshwater management, because we recognise that the deep intrinsic cultural importance of water to iwi, and we recognise that they've got some very valid rights and interests that have to be addressed in water reform, and we've committed to them being integral to every step in the process. And as I say, we've had a process over the last couple of years to get to this point, and that will continue over the next few years as we work through the issues. And in resource management, what we want to make sure is that every council around the country is properly engaging with iwi. At the moment, some do it well, some really don't do it at all, and that's not good enough. We want to have some clear expectations around how councils should engage with iwi, but obviously for those who've got treaty settlements, none of that changes, so where they've got arrangements in place, that stays the same. But for those who haven't, we want to make sure there's some minimum expectations set around what councils need to do to work with iwi to make sure they've got real meaningful input into plans.
I see there are improvements being made to make the role of iwi more clear.
Yeah.
What sort of improvements are we looking at?
So what we've said in resource management, first of all, is that at the moment councils just have an obligation to consult with iwi, and that can mean a whole lot of things to a whole lot of people, and a lot of people have got pretty bad experiences with what that means. We're lifting that up and saying that's not enough. You need to have, as a council, you need to have a formal arrangement by which you will work with iwi and they can provide real, meaningful, effective input into the final decision making of plans, but also saying to councils you should be working with iwi from early on and developing the plans and the thinking behind them. So we're setting some pretty clear expectations as to how councils should work with all their local iwi.
Along with cutting costs, I suppose, is reducing the ability to appeal. That's going to affect iwi significantly.
Oh, look, I think it's going to be a positive impact, actually, because what we want to do is we want the council to make decisions that really properly pick up what their communities want. And once they've made those decisions, we want to make sure the courts can't change what a community decisions. The courts have got a key role in making sure that councils have followed proper process and properly applied the rules and the wishes of community. But we need communities to make decisions about value judgments in their communities. And once they've done that, I don't think anyone benefits if this thing goes years and years and years through the courts. And that's pretty expensive, you know. You've got to have a lot of money to keep filing appeals and keep going. So we want to make sure that good decisions are made early in the process, that they really pick up all community interests, and that the courts have a role to make sure that processes work well, but not to replace what the communities want.
How's that been received in the previous meetings?
So it's interesting. We're proposing some pretty big reform, and I think that's a good thing. And people take a little while to get their heads around what we're proposing and why, but I think there's a general level of acceptance that we can do this stuff better. We can look after our water better, we can make decisions as communities better, we can plan for the needs of our community. You know, this is about how easy it is to create jobs, how cheap it is to buy a house, you know, where you can go to school and have hospitals. This is stuff that matters to New Zealanders, and they want to know that they can be involved in a meaningful way and that they won't have to spend years and years and hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, to fight the battles out time and time again. So I think people see the need to change, and they're pretty interested.
Out of curiosity, how, on the national scale, how healthy is our water?
Yeah, look, that's an interesting point. International. Yeah, look, in Rotorua you have had some really interesting and troublesome lakes, but you've been making some good progress too in recent years. Overall, we still have some of the best water in the world, but it is getting worse. And there are particular areas of New Zealand where the water quality is deteriorating, and we can't afford that to continue. We have to get our water on a track to improvement, but we also have to recognise it's been 100 years to get to this point, and it's going to take a long time to fix it. But we've got to start now, and we've got to start getting on that track to improving water. But overall, we still have some of the best water in the world, but we want to keep it that way.
Do you know roughly how much you could be saving with this reform?
Oh, look, part of it's around saving money. For government, actually not a whole lot. It's not about us. It's mostly around the fact that every time you have a consent application that gets appealed, you know, it's often millions of dollars, and that's money that's coming out of Kiwis' pockets and their power bills and their rates bills and their tax bills. It's money that's not being spent on our kids and our health and our jobs, and we want to say, actually, let's have processes that get to good decisions much quicker so we can get on with things and spend money where it matters.
Cool.
And that's Environment Minister Amy Adams talking about changes to the Resource Management Act. Willie, council's required to have formal arrangements with iwi. That's got to be a good thing for Māori.
Well, that sounds good from Amy. Problem is I don't trust the nets. You see, when you're looking at changes to the RMA, you automatically think with the National Party it's about giving some of their mates, some of their rich mates, property developers, more access to our land. That's the problem, and that's why I was talking to Tūroro Flavor on Wātea about this, and he's sort of following it through for the Māori Party, because we have treaty clauses too. So that side of things sounds okay, but where do our treaty clauses stand? You know, there's got to be obligations to the treaties. So that was a good front from Amy, but we need to keep following that through.
So is this a good kaupapa for Shane Jones to relaunch himself in the Labour Party?
It's a big kaupapa for Shane. Shane's the one who can really target what's happening here, because Māori could be very vulnerable here. Māori Party are taking it up. Jonesy needs to get onto it, you know. No more mistakes from Jonesy.
And you spoke about Tūroro Flavor just earlier, and we heard on Q&A earlier on that there could be some leadership challenge happening again today, or they're discussing the leadership today?
Look, there's no doubt there is a leadership challenge. And the Māori Party have done they handle themselves well. You know, everyone thinks they love each other, but I think there's a bit of hutta in that party at the moment. There's a bit of resentment, and if you're on Sharple's side, you could understand why, because clearly they're running a campaign against them. Pen Bird, Tariana Tudia and Tūroro Flavor. clear as a bell. They want Pete Sharples to get out, and we, you know, anyone who's sort of been following it closely can see that Pete doesn't want to go.
But should he fall on his sword, or should he?
No, well, I see it's a very tough one. Now, Pete probably should have fallen on a sword. He shouldn't have been standing next time. He made a decision to stand. Now that he's made a decision to stand, the Māori Party, in a way, almost have to wear it. So they have to find some sort of arrangement where you bring Te Ururo through as the co-leader. Peter Sharples maintains his mana as a minister. There has to be some type of arrangement like that. But never before in New Zealand politics have you seen leaders running against each other like this. We've actually got, and I know she won't like me saying this, Tariana, but her and Tūroro are running a campaign against their co-leader. It's clear as a bell. Very sad. Well, but we like them all, don't we, Scotty? We want them on marae.
And we all like a bit of drama, don't we? Thank you very much, Willie, and take care of those fingers too.